Awesome. So let's get started here. Welcome everyone to our Ladies at UX event. To introduce, give everyone a little bit of insight into Ladies at UX, we are a group of enthusiastic ladies who inspire, empower, and support each other in a safe and casual environment. We encourage all women who work in or are interested in the field of user experience to join us to form a family of Ladies at UX Seattle. This is, of course, not a community that's not exclusive to women. We are definitely open to all, but want to focus and advocate for women in this space. Feel free to connect with us on Slack, Instagram, and Twitter. Going over general housekeeping rules. Please be respectful of all participants and members. As a courtesy, please mute your microphone while the event speaker is presenting. And feel free to see our Ladies at UX Code of Conduct, which I can also share in the chat as well. So to quickly get started with our wonderful and exciting event with Leigh, we will be covering Take Your Next Step with Intention, a career journey mapping event with the wonderful Leigh Allen-Arredondo, founder of UX Cake podcast, as well as a UX leadership coach. And with that, I will pass the baton on to Leigh.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sinead. I am super happy to be here, and I love doing this workshop. I'm just going to go ahead and get my screen sharing going. Make sure it's on the right slide. All right, so as I was saying, I love doing this workshop because people find it incredibly valuable. And it's work that is not, it's actually kind of fun. Hopefully you find it fun. I have found it fun. I've done it myself. I've tried it on myself many times. In any regards, it's just work that we often don't take the time to do for ourselves. So you're going to get a chance to go through a process that I've developed in my own coaching practice. And it's designed to give you insights about yourself, about your values and your strengths and what motivates you, what makes you thrive, what's really important. And it can be an insightful process at any time, but especially if you're thinking about any kind of next step or wondering, what's next, or even just what now. Happens many times in our careers. In our lives. So just a little bit about me. I'm Leigh Allen-Arredondo. I've been a leader in technology, specifically in user experience, strategy, and design and research for, over 20 years. And I've worked for big companies like Amazon and mid-sized companies like Getty Images, Brooks Running, at agencies and startups. I've been a consultant. I've done it all, really. I've led teams creating all kinds of experiences, and I feel incredibly lucky to have had such a varied career. My transition into coaching came when I realized that as a team leader, I got to a place where I felt like what I loved doing the most and where I felt I brought maybe the most value was actually in team and people development. I was a very good coach as a leader, and I wondered if I could do that as, my whole job. So about 3 years ago, I began the transition into becoming a certified leadership coach. And now I work with individuals and teams in human-centered disciplines like design and research to create really impactful outcomes for your career, because I believe we all deserve to have a fulfilling career, and I also believe that it is possible. So, why journey mapping? So a few years ago, I was at a crossroads and very frustrated. I was a leader in my field, and yet I was having trouble finding what seemed like, to me, work worth doing, and especially interesting work that was really up to my capabilities. I had just left my third startup, and I was consulting as a strategist and sort of, excuse me, sort of looking at full-time jobs. But I'd really been burned before by taking roles that sounded really good or sounded really interesting and turned out to be not what I expected, or just not a good fit, out of alignment with what I really wanted to be spending the majority of my time doing. So I wanted my next step to be very intentional, and I was looking for more clarity about what I wanted. So I hired a coach. And what I found, this is a picture actually of one of our very early sessions with my coach. And what I found was that intention and clarity require some work. And that wasn't a surprise. I mean, that was why I hired a coach to help me, look within and dig deeper than I seemed to be able to do on my own. So one of the first exercises that we did was to go through my entire career together. And although I didn't realize it at the time, I found a lot of clues that would help me see kind of patterns and show me what motivates me and makes me thrive. And what this reminded me of may look familiar to you. The exercise that I did with her reminded me so much of the kind of work that I was doing in my strategy work, doing user journey mapping, which many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. Asking users, we ask them question after question to get at about a particular area in their lives to really figure out what their needs are and what's motivating them and what delights them. And if you do this kind of work, that if you ask somebody a superficial question like, what do you need? What do you enjoy? You are probably not going to find out really compelling insights. You're not going to find out what they really need or want, or what's really important, or what even really motivates them. And yet that's often how we end up approaching how we think about our own futures, is we stick with those superficial questions. What do I want to do? What feels right? So to understand what we really need and what's really important, those sort of underlying insights, we really have to dig into actual experiences and ask probing questions of ourselves, and just like we do with users in UX. And we have to ask ourselves, what are my thoughts about that? What am I looking for? What was I looking for, and why was that important? So when I started coaching myself, I created a process based on the exercise that I had done with my coach and my understanding of how I approach doing user journey mapping and the exercise. And I sort of combine those things, and I use this with my clients. And working with a client, I'm able to ask them those questions behind the superficial roles and responsibilities that's on our resumes. So I wanted to turn this into an exercise that somebody could do on their own, and that became this workshop. So we're going to be working in multiple steps. You are you're going to be working alone because you know yourself best. It is really wonderful to do this with another person. And if we had probably twice as much time, we could do each of these steps with another person. But it's also incredibly helpful doing this on your own. So you're going to be focusing on your own experience, on your experiences, starting with what you've done and your challenges that you've overcome, and kind of where you've had alignment or not. And it's a layered approach that is designed to help you get below what you might normally access in your conscious mind. Because when we ask ourselves these basic questions, the answer typically isn't just like laying out there in front of us. You know, it's not like you just open your map app and type in a destination and you see the course. Sometimes we don't even know what the destination is, let alone how to get there. So our brains are really good at looking at what is at the surface level and what's easiest to access. So we have to do a little more digging to figure out the clues that are kind of hiding in our past experiences, and not just generalizations about what we believe we do well, and what we think we want more of in our life, and what's most important to us. So I'm just going to explain a little bit and then we're going to get started. You are going to need some pen and paper. That is the absolute #1 requirement for this. You cannot do this in your head. So everybody go get some pen and paper while I talk through the outline for what we're going to do today. The scope of this should be your adult life or the most recent 10 years, whichever is shorter. Whichever one makes the most sense for you. More than 10 years would probably not fit in the amount of time that we have. So the first step is you're going to be writing out your timeline. I'll show you each of these steps and show you an example as well. Then you will be layering on the questions and our answers. And then we're going to do some analysis. We're going to look at the patterns, and then we'll do some synthesis. So looking for the opportunities. And this is what I mean by it's very much like developing a user journey map. And then at the end, we're going to share. And I really do hope, I know it's a very large group. Oh, I got a question. Is digital okay? It's very difficult to do it digitally. But if that is what's available to you, then I would say yes. Use what is available to you. The examples I'll be showing you are handwritten, and you're incredibly smart. So I'm pretty sure you could figure out how to do it digitally. And it probably isn't that difficult. I just haven't done it. Okay. So at the end, we're going to share, and I really hope that some of you are willing to kind of share maybe one insight that you had. It would actually really help other people, I think, as well. So I'm going to go through this, and yes, that's right. Shanae, as long as it's not just kept in your head, getting it out on paper. So let's see. Step 1 is creating the timeline. And this is basically what I was doing. And this is not just a resume, right? So this is kind of the job or the role or the title. This could be, you know, what you were studying in school. It could be some training that you had. Like everything goes in sort of an individual bullet point, maybe, is kind of how I ended up doing it here. Maybe you had a side hustle, or you also want to include challenges that you had. Possibly it could be things in your life. Maybe you had a baby. You know, maybe one of your parents passed away, you know, things that really had an impact on you, as well as accomplishments. And these are accomplishments both in your work and outside of your work. You know, I ran a triathlon in the last 10 years. And so, or was not just running, I did all the things in the triathlon. So, you know, that was something that I was really proud of. And so that made it in here. Also, because it is time boxed, and it is really helpful to get all 10 years if possible. I just kind of did a quick pass on mine, and then I went back with the time I had remaining and put in the things that I forgot. So, oh, one other thing I want to mention, this is very important. These at this stage are more or less neutral as far as how you're writing it down. You're not assigning judgment here, and it's not how you felt about it. It's just the thing itself. But do try to remember anything that had an impact on you, both inside and outside your work. Before we get started, we're going to have 10 minutes for this. And I'm going to play some chill music in the background. But are there any questions before we start? Okay. Oh, Sinead, is there a timer?
I can keep time for you. How much? Or
okay.
10-minute time box, 10 minutes?
Yeah, or I can do it.
I can do this for you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
Okay. Starting now. Leigh, we have a request to turn the music a little bit up.
Okay. If I go on mute, can you still hear the music?
We can still hear the music, I believe. Yes. We are halfway through with 5 minutes left. We're approaching 2 minutes left. If you could take this time to wrap up any thoughts. Okay, and we are at time at 10 minutes.
That was my cue. Okay. Thank you so much for doing that, taking care of that, Sinead. So I'm curious if you want to put it in the chat, how was the timing on that? Like if that was enough time, too long, that kind of thing. All right, awesome. So let's look at, oh, I started, okay. Now I have to find my screen again. There we go. Good timing. Yes. Figuring out or just remembering the last 10 years was a real challenge. And this is part of why it's so important to do this, because when we tend to think about, you know, what are my strengths? What are my values? What's important to me? You know, what am I good at? What have I done? My accomplishments 10 years ago, what did I, I don't remember. So we tend to just look at the last few years for the most part. And there's a lot that you have done. And I hope that you realize that through this. So you will even more so in the next few steps. So step 2 is the research part. And that is, I ended up rewriting what I had done the first time and putting it into two pages in order to do this step. What did I learn? So here's the questions. You want to look at the things, especially challenging things, right? But in any of the things that you wrote down, ask, what did I learn? What were the hard or soft skills that I gained? What was in or out of alignment here for me? What worked or didn't work very well for me here? What did I enjoy? What did I do well? What am I proud of? That's very important, etc. You know, why did I take it? Why did I leave? You know, whether it, you know, was this something that I wanted to leave or was it not my choice? It's very, very important here to look through a positive lens. All of us probably are familiar with the, you know, negative self-talk, and that is not going to help you here. For this research, I want you to pretend that you are interviewing a very dear friend, someone who you love, who you want to succeed. And so try not to use this as a time to point out your weaknesses or your mistakes or your failures. You know, we do that plenty. So I'm using those. I don't actually like to focus on failures. I think it's very important to think about what we learned and what we would do differently. Also, it would be really helpful here. This is another important point, and then I'll move on. Don't generalize. And this is hard because this is another thing that our brains do all the time. So for an example, I had a job where I found out I suck at marketing. It's really what I don't enjoy doing, and you know, it's not what I should take a job doing. That, however, is not super helpful. What specifically was out of alignment? Creating email campaigns and funnels was something I had never done before, and I didn't really like it. I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't feel like I was good at it. And it took a lot of my time from doing things that I thought was more valuable. So being more specific actually helped me, get more insight out of that. So, all right. So, like, rule of thumb, what would you say to a friend? Would you say to a friend, you suck at marketing? Well, maybe you would, but chances are you might not say that. So we want to show ourselves compassion. Okay, Self-compassion is necessary to really make a difference in our direction. That's a note that I have here. So we have 12 minutes for this. If you want to tee that up, Shanae, and I will get, just if you have any questions, throw it in the chat too.
Awesome. So we will start our 10 minutes now. We're at 5 minutes, halfway point, and 5 minutes to go. Coming up on our last 3 minutes here, so take this time to wrap up any of your thoughts.
So, here we go.
Oh, that's music to my ears.
Okay, and that is time at 12 minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, so that was not a lot of time for doing, this deep work. I'm hoping that this is engaging enough for you to continue it on your own, because it is a lot to try to fit into even 12 minutes. On the next, we still have 45 minutes. And so I think, right? Yes, math. So I think for the next steps, I might have said, oh, good, I did say 12 minutes. And what was I going to say? Oh, well, I think I was just going to say that if you leave yourself some space to kind of layer in, to come back to this afterwards and layer in, I think it would be worth it. Okay. So step 3, we only have 2 more steps, and then there's a little bit of time for sharing, and then I have some resource links for you, and we'll wrap up. So with step 3, we are looking for patterns here. This is one where I think it's really helpful to get another color pen. If you're using pens, just use another color ink if you're going digital. Because this is kind of that next step. You've already seen some patterns. That's awesome, Veronica. Where we're looking to pull out strengths and values. Now, there might be some other patterns that you see that maybe you're like that, well, I don't know if that's a strength or a value, but so pull that out, right? You could even use another color pen. There's probably a lot of very creative people here, creative thinkers and creative problem solvers, all of you. Yeah, the strength is basically a capability that is bringing value to others, and it's a natural aptitude. I think I don't need to explain what strengths and personal values are, and they're up there. Is anybody having audio trouble? Am I coming through okay?
Audio is fine for me.
Okay. Sorry about that, Cassie. All right, so you go back to the beginning and you're looking through what you've written, circle all the things that jump out as recurring patterns. And once you've gone through and looked for the patterns, you look at them and name the pattern. So let's go ahead and give ourselves 20, sorry, you could use 20 minutes, but we're only gonna have 12 here.
Okay, we are starting 12 minutes, starting now.
I just had a thought I want to share with you all, that I believe that sometimes patterns can also be limiting beliefs, and those can be some things to look out for here as well.
We are just over 6 minutes. We have 3 minutes remaining. I'll just give Leigh a moment to sign back in. Okay, well, we are at time at 12 minutes. I think while we are waiting for Leigh to sign back in, I will try and present her slides. Give me 1 second to dig that up. And we will not move forward, but just to reflect on the prompt. Welcome back, Leigh. I have made you co-host.
Hello. Yeah, connection just like went down.
It happens.
Yeah, I love it when it happens.
The
All
good
right.
thing is that I can edit it out when we put it online.
Okay. All right. So, oh, you know what? I think my presentation might have, no, where we go. Give me a moment, please. There we go. Back in business. All right. Oh, there was so many interesting things in the chat happening too. Anxiety is a superpower. Yeah, I just heard a podcast episode like that, using your anxiety to, to push you forward. Yeah, so there's a lot here. And also I wanted to mention that you mentioned that, you found some things that, you hadn't considered before that were new, that you hadn't seen. That happens every time that you do this. And it's really strange. I've done this a few times. And like my past hasn't changed, but my perspective has changed a lot. And so as I grow in more self-acceptance and self-understanding and mind management, I'm big on mindset management. I do see different things every time I do it. So it's worth another pass if you don't get to it all in this time. So, all right, we hopefully that's not put us too far behind, but I think we are a little far behind. The next step is another 12 minutes. So hopefully you all can stay just a little bit over. And sorry for the technical difficulties. So you're going to need a new sheet of paper for this, because you may have noticed your current sheet of paper is full. So in this sheet of paper, I want you to kind of write 3 columns, maybe give it a plus, a minus, and a triangle. Triangle is delta. That would mean, what's working or what you want more of. That's the plus. This works well, I want more of this. The minus is these are things that, maybe I want to avoid, or I want to be very, very careful of, or less of. And then a column for what you want to learn or develop, which is a really, really important thing to keep asking ourselves, not just what do I want to do, but what do I want to learn? Man, we forget about that. Look at the patterns that you found in the last step and what's jumping out at you. You might not have specific ideas yet. Try listing out your strengths and values in the plus column, or the patterns that are positive in the plus column. This is going to help you identify some of the threads that are running through your life and through your career. As you fill these out, just look for, what ideas are emerging. If you put a strength and a value together, what new thing maybe could you create? This step is also where it can be really helpful to talk through this with another person. If you have a mentor or if you have a good friend you do these sorts of things with, get another set of eyes on your journey. And as some of you saw in the last step, pulling out your strengths also can be helpful to get another set of eyes on, because other people tend to see our strengths more than we do sometimes. All right, so let's get started.
Awesome.
No further ado.
We will start with 12 minutes on the clock starting now. Forgot to warn everyone of the halfway mark, but we are at 7 minutes has passed. We have 3 minutes remaining. And we're at time at 12 minutes. I feel like the 12 minutes are going by faster and faster.
Yes. I would love to get to, we have 10 minutes, well, a little bit less, because I know you have a few wrap up things for ladies at UX. So I'm gonna, oops, jump to the next. Oh, wrong screen. There we go. I would love to, okay. Two things. One is I want to hear from you all. If there's anyone who's willing to share, I would love to out loud because the chat is really there's been so many wonderful comments in chat, and I think if anyone's willing to share, I'd love for you to come off mute and share in person. Also, I just want to make a note that this is, I do have a special for workshop participants. If you want to do a deep dive on this with me, it's actually $150, not $195. I'm going to give you all these slides and I'll make that change. But anyway, I'm also going to put a link in the chat to a survey that I really hope that you will fill out. It's very helpful for me to know how this works, what could be better, and all that. So is anyone willing to share? Oh, Tina, raise your hand.
Hey everyone. I had a little moment of clarity. That's, I think, the only reason I want to talk about it, because if I go in the other room and talk about it with my husband, he'll be like, okay, great. I, in the last 10 years, have gone through 3 big career changes and 2 huge life changes, including turning 50. And it has been a journey of 10 years. I wrote me and my and I on my research 15, 20 times. So it's just been a journey to find me as an adult woman outside of mom and wife. And that was just like a little epiphany. That's been my biggest thing. Sorry, I'm just a little woo, all right, I did it. And here I am, UX, that's where I want to be. So anyway, that was my insight today.
That's so wonderful, Tina. Thank you so much for sharing. That is really a wonderful, wonderful thing to hear, that you're on this journey and here you are. Jessica, would love to hear what you have to say. Uh-oh. I cannot hear you. Uh-oh.
Is that any better?
No, it sounds like there's, we can sort of hear you, but it's coming through. Do you have headphones on? No? Oh, something's messed up with your audio. That sucks. Oops, let's see. All right. If you want to troubleshoot, let's see if anyone else is willing to share while Jessica does a little troubleshooting. Or if you can't troubleshoot, then please share with us in the chat, because it would be wonderful. Let's see.
I can go next. Diana here.
Great.
Yeah. So what I discovered is that over the past 10 years, I've been climbing the ladder, basically. And for the first time in my career, I can focus on what really makes me happy instead of what pays more money. And that makes the difference, because I'm in a different position now where I can I discovered what my passion is, and I can make a living of it, and it's great. But at the same time, I'm so tired of climbing ladders for the past 10 years. So that's what I discovered with this exercise. It's kind of sad and happy at the same time.
As most self-growth is, I think. Because to make a change means we have to say goodbye to something. And even if it's something that's painful, it's something that maybe we're used to. And we have a hard time letting go of that. But I'm so glad, Dana, that you came to this realization, and it is possible. I know that it is, to get that, to get what you want. It's not easy. I'm gonna see about, how does that work? No. Jessica, wait, Caroline.
Thank you so much for this workshop. I'm such a big fan of you, Leigh, so thank you. And thank you, Ladies Who UX. I guess some of the things that I was noticing is over the course of my career, and I've made changes, is that the things that, like, I feel like I learn technical skills pretty quickly, and I'm a pretty quick learner in terms of the like the actual things that I'm doing on the job. But taking care of my emotional health and understanding, like, separating myself from, like, focusing the politics and the drama that can kind of come in an office when there's certain personalities that maybe I look over my career, and I think that it, like, as I've grown as a person, just kind of realizing what an impact it makes in terms of the people that you consider your tribe and that you let in, like, on a real level. Because a lot of the reasons that I had to leave positions is I got to a point where I realized, like, I can't do this anymore here. Like, this just isn't a healthy space. And I've got to do a lot of, like, my own work to kind of realize the common denominators that were kind of my role in that. And that's an ongoing journey, of course. But, like, just kind of seeing the ways that, like, toxicity can kind of, like, be in the workspace, and, like, trying to figure out healthy ways of relating, like avoiding gossip, avoiding, like spaces where it's just like, okay, that person is going to bring drama. They're really fun and they're really magnetic, but let's just focus over here instead. So it feels a little embarrassing to admit that, because I want it to be something more of like I see this, like, in terms of my role, but it's so much is around people and our job experience.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that very much. How we build relationships at work, and has so much to do with, kind of who we are. And so it's really helpful to understand how to use your strengths for good in a way that's, like, healthy. And those are, oh my God, we all learn those things. Well, hopefully those of us who are here are, clearly you are into journeying. So yeah, thank you so much.
Is this any better?
Oh, Jessica, no. Something is up with your audio. So bummed. Can you put something in the chat? Is it something you could, okay, awesome. Love to hear that. We are almost at 7. I know, Shanae, you had a couple things. Yeah, it did sound a bit like a robot. I'm gonna get you a link that will get you to all those links while Shanae wraps up. How's that? And thank you all. Oh my gosh. I am so grateful to you all for joining, for participating, for engaging, and it makes it fun for me to do, even though I've done this before, but and there's a lot of time where you're all, kind of doing your own thing. I loved it. I am so glad that it was helpful, and I will drop that link in the chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Leigh. This event was definitely eye-opening for me personally. I was able to identify how I have navigated my professional life with certain misconceptions or assumptions about how things could go, and reflecting on why I left or transitioned really made me recognize, or this exercise made me recognize existing patterns, and how can I apply what worked well for me moving forward, but also learn from what didn't work for me as well as I grow in this profession. So that's definitely an eye-opening exercise. So thank you so much for presenting. Wonderful workshop. And I know a lot of you are asking for the links in the chat. So once that's available, I'll be sure to send out an email blast for all the attendees here with those resources. Great. With that being said, we do want to wrap up here. And is everyone able to see my screen? Awesome. That's not the statement of the last 3 years. Just wanted to make our announcement of our upcoming event next week. It is an in-person event, so it's very exciting. We haven't had one in basically since 2020. So it is Friday the 23rd, and it is at Optimism Brewing Company. Definitely check out our Meetup page for details for that event, as well as upcoming event. But it is exciting to see that we are also having in-person events in addition to virtual events. So we look forward to you all joining us in the next one. And with that being said, thank you everyone for joining. Definitely learned a lot from Leigh as well as from each other. Yeah, and feel free to give us feedback at any time and join our Meetup community.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Shanae.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Night.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Are free for, yeah, awesome. Okay.